Some people are calling that Liverpool's best game of the season so far. Jamie Carragher said it on Sky. A couple of other people I've seen tweeted it. And, because of the record breaking XG, which obviously is going to be contributed to through penalties. And by the way, the XG is since the XG was being recorded, the analysis of that, since that has been recorded, that's the highest XG a Premier League team has recorded in the league. Which is kind of weird because Liverpool have scored more than that. But you get what I mean? Anyway, the point being, Liverpool played very well. And I want to unpack how they can continue to play well, if they can even continue to play well, or if in fact beating a Newcastle side, which is extremely tired, depleted, and going through a bit of a crisis of where are we quite at, is that really that much of an achievement this season for Liverpool? And really, do we need to hang every hat on every game that Liverpool play? Probably not. Welcome back to Laurence McKenna channel. As you can see, there are plenty of thoughts from this one. Let's start off with Actually, let's start with the two penalties because I'm kind of interested in people's takes on those. First of all, I'm just going to put my cards on the table. Because there was contact in both, because it was kind of contact which puts the angle of the foot at the wrong angle or sort of puts them running at a bit of a weird, they step and they try and put their foot down, they realize they can't really put their foot down, and then they go down. Because their leg that isn't touched continues going, it looks like it's not a penalty because they can kind of continue striding. It's almost like a basketball shot in a sense because they can continue to step. You could call it a traveling penalty. Does that make sense? Anyway, they continue to step. Jota definitely continues to step after the goalkeeper's, I think it's like his following elbow comes through and taps the side of his ankle. And then Diaz was definitely touched and went down due to contact. I don't think there's much to dispute over that. But then the Sky coverage seemed to say the complete opposite, right? The Sky coverage was like, yeah, sure. I mean, we can argue about how light of a penalty it is. I'm not sure you can argue whether it is a penalty, but I think you can argue, well, where is the game at this point? Well, first of all, players I'm not even sure could run that quick back when Gary Neville was being Gary Neville. And, I kind of thought Gary Neville was on the commentary for Sky to bring a player's perspective. Surely one of the things you say during commentary any point in any of this is players traveling at high speed are going to be subject to much smaller, if you're impeded, you're going to be subject to much smaller amounts of force having a much bigger effect on where you then travel because your feet are traveling so quick and you're traveling in such a controlled manner that if you get even minorly touched, then you're going to go down at great speed. And, obviously that then impacts the way you run. Is that just not the way it is? I find it weird. Anyway, that was my two takes on the penalty. My other take on the penalty is always give it to Mo Salah. Mo Salah's Liverpool's penalty taker. I know he's missed 4 out of the last 11 penalties now. Not fantastic. But at the same time, he's Liverpool's penalty taker. He's Mo Salah for a reason. He's got 151 goals for Liverpool. I think he's the fastest to 150 goals in the Premier League era. And stick with me here. Fourth, Henry, Aguero, and then there was someone else, I can't remember who else it was. But Henry, Aguero, maybe Shearer, I can't remember. That's impressive. In terms of him not being just a natural striker, he's not just a striker, just plays in just that position, although he is a goal-getting winger. It's really impressive what he has done in his era during the Premier League. Liverpool are now going to miss him massively. Not only is it about goals for Mo Salah and the goal threat of Mo Salah, it's also about now the facilitation of what he does. But when you see someone like Jota come on, when you see that there are a number of really good attacking options that Liverpool have, when you see what they've tried to do with Harvey Elliott, when you see what they could possibly do with a Szoboszlai and bringing McAllister back into the midfield, putting Szoboszlai a little bit further up despite his brilliant midfield winning a ball abilities, I think there is a rotational option that Liverpool can try to employ here. Maybe they start trying that during the FA Cup against Arsenal, exactly a week from now. The point being, they're going to miss Mo Salah and Wataru Endo for a period of about 3 to 6 weeks, depending on how long Salah is in the tournament and depending on how long Endo is away, depending on whether they get injured while they're away, depending on whether they need time to acclimatise when they get back, depending on how quickly Liverpool need them, what influence they have on the team. And their influence is to different degrees within this Liverpool team. But they're both worth discussing because they were so key in this game. Mo Salah, right, is what that right side of Liverpool is. His identity, the way he plays the ball, all those things. But also, what we have come to associate with Mo Salah is a very Klopp way of playing. When he came to Liverpool, we didn't think of Mo Salah in the way that he plays now, right? We thought of him, obviously he's got these little aspects of his game and there are brilliant bits that Klopp has brought more out of him of. But the position that he plays is created for him in a Coach Carter-esque way by Jurgen Klopp. So if Jurgen Klopp is then trying to replace his numbers, make up those numbers in the aggregate, or make up the influence in the aggregate, then who's better to do that than Jurgen Klopp, the man who got the best out of Mo Salah? I'm not saying that therefore Liverpool won't miss one of the best players in the world, but this Liverpool team is built to get the best out of Mo. He's able to wander in certain positions. They're analysing exactly where he plays his best game, all these kind of things. Can you try another player in that position? Absolutely. Do we try another player in that position? Very rarely. So do we really know how well Liverpool will play without him? Well, of course, his gravity, as you put it, or as anyone puts it in basketball, I think it is, gravity is when how much pull you have of the defenders towards you, or how much influence you have on the game to make space for others, or to do something with the ball that is incredibly special, which basically means you have more influence on the team from that position and therefore pull the opposition around. And, basically make it difficult for the opposition, either from them coming to you, you going to them, or vice versa, right? All of that, surely Jurgen Klopp is going to miss that. Like, there are players who fear Mo Salah. They're not going to be the same level of fear of other players because Mo Salah carries the ball in such a way. But then even Mo Salah himself has overrun the ball a number of times for Liverpool this season. Even in this game, there are a number of times where the ball got away from him under his feet. Other players were able to catch up to him. I'm not sure that's an insurmountable level of influence in that no one else can play right wing for Liverpool, is what I'm saying. It's not that they won't miss him. It's not they won't miss that, talismanic effort and element that he has. But there is an element where you go, okay, Liverpool can make up some of these aspects. And it's possibly a good time to explore what influence Mo Salah really has on this Liverpool team. Will I be eating my words in 4 weeks? Most probably. If Liverpool are down in a game, need someone who's going to score a goal, Mo Salah is that guy. But at the same time, that role has been created, carved out, and made famous by a combination of Mo Salah in this team. And in fact, if you look at the influence of Nunez, Diaz, Jota, Cody Gakpo in this side, I'll talk more about the way that it changes, but when you saw the influence of the front three, and for that, I think the second goal, or was it the first? The one where it's passed back across and then Mo Salah just taps it in, or vice versa with Nunez where it didn't go in, you see the fluidity of this front line. You see where people are interchanging positions. You see how quickly Liverpool can go from end to end in counter-attack through someone like Diaz, through someone like Nunez, through someone like Jota, through someone like Gakpo, through someone like even Harvey Elliott if he's there, or a Curtis Jones with a scything pass like he did, or Van Dijk for picking out a certain pass like he did. It's the combos that Mo Salah has. It's the combos that Liverpool have. And this is possibly the worst and best time to be looking at what you do without Mo Salah. The worst time because Liverpool are very much in a title race. They are leading it right now. And the worst because a huge reason they are in that title race is because of the goals of Mo Salah, because of the influence of Mo Salah, and because when you look at the new players that Liverpool are bedding in, having a Salah, a Van Dijk, other players who are much more sure in what their position is, people who are very sure in their identity as a football player and their influence and the arm around the shoulder and the leadership skills they have, either soft or very apparent, are very important to Liverpool. Mo Salah is a brilliant player, but if you look at any interviews about him, and I can't remember who it was. I don't remember who it is. I think it's one of the new players who came into midfield. One of them basically just said Mo is a great influence off the field as well. He's someone that I love to chat to. He's someone who's been a really good person who's taken me under his wing since he arrived. Ask Harvey Elliott. Ask a number of players. Ask Hendo, Trent, people who love or loved to combine with him. Speaking of which, by the way, Fabinho and Firmino were in attendance this evening, possibly because the Saudi League is now over for the season, or there's got some sort of break. They're looking for new clubs. They're probably both back to sign a loan with someone, or they're going to come back and train with Liverpool, or whatever it is. I would offer Bobby Firmino a 6-week, whatever it is, just to get him in the side. Hey, just come in, have a 6-week contract, come and play for us, train with us. You'll be brilliant. We don't know, maybe his fitness isn't what it used to be or whatever, but Mo Salah's going away. Hey, do you want to bring back one of the old group? We need one of the old team, right? You need at least Ringo from the Beatles. Point being, Liverpool are going to miss Mo Salah. And as much as we have seen in recent times, Firmino, Fabinho, Hendo, Mane move on, Salah is still very much a fulcrum which Liverpool build around, different to those other guys that were back in the stadium this evening. Both Liverpool legends, obviously, brilliant players. On the other side of that is Wataru Endo. Endo has very much made the role his own in this Liverpool team. It's very much in his own identity, in his own shape, in his own making. The things he knows how to do very well, I love. The shooting, the crafting of a shot, the interchange on the edge of the box is fantastic. Liverpool are clearly telling their midfield players to put in shots that are going to make the opposition think twice about whether they can drop deep or whether they need to come out and create a little bit of space for Liverpool. That's what Liverpool are trying to exploit. Having McAllister back at this point possibly helps Liverpool a bit through this period, but still, I still think Liverpool need a genuine 6 or someone who's in that shape as a player that we know Liverpool need. They're not a 6, they're not an 8. They're not a double pivot, they're a single pivot. They're just a single holding player who can play in a double pivot, who can play in combo with all these other players. He's not an Andre anymore, who's apparently on his way to Fulham. He's probably not Paulinho because he's going to be morbidly expensive. Morbidly expensive is a mixture of morbidly obese and ridiculously expensive. But the point being, Wataru Endo has carved out a bit of a role for himself. He knows his limitations in terms of passing range and passing. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I think he's a great player. But I think there are other players in the team where Klopp has gone, let Virgil van Dijk pass out the back. Get it to Trent. Get it to Konate. He's going to put the balls down there. You win the ball back. Be very effective in the way you close down. Be very effective in your combination closing and pressing and all those things with other players. Win it back. What I've noticed with Endo and what I've noticed with a number of Liverpool players is they have no fear in getting into the players this season. They have no fear in putting the skin on skin with the opposition and like carving a leg around them. Fabinho loved to do it. Firmino loved to do it. Salah loves to do it. They love skin on skin, a fight to the death to get the ball back, right? That's a reference to a TV show. I'm not saying they actually fight to the death. But the point being, Liverpool love to get into the opposition, and Endo loves to get into the opposition. Sometimes it gives away a free kick, but more often than not, the referee just sort of waves play on, and they do play on. Which brings me on to the referee. Anthony Taylor didn't have a fantastic game tonight. I don't think he had a bad game. A lot of people saying they thought the Liverpool decisions, all the decisions went Liverpool's way, which I thought was unusual. Liverpool clearly were frustrated down the field that they were not getting the decisions they thought they should be getting, that they were not getting calls that they knew they probably should be getting, that Newcastle were not seeing yellow cards for fouls that I imagine if Liverpool felt they would be chalked up to them, they would have got a yellow card for. So, it was an interesting game, referee-wise. I don't think VAR-wise it was all that bad. A little slow, possibly, but the correct decision every time. Both penalties were penalties. Both penalties had contacts. Both offsides were offsides, though we don't see the lines in the UK broadcast. Not quite sure why. Why can't we just see them drawing the lines? Why can't we get a bit more transparency? Is it because if they make a mistake, then we'll dwell on that? If you make a mistake, you kind of have to live with it. That's refereeing. That's why you paid the money. That's why you're protected by the Premier League. That's why you have this job. Like, you're in a high pressure situation because you're meant to perform well in it. Do your job, and no one's going to dwell on it. Outside of that, let's get back to the Jamie Carragher thing here. He said this was Liverpool's best performance. I respectfully disagree. I think the 1-1 against City was a much more front to back. Actually, it wasn't a better overall performance. This was probably the best attacking punch for punch performance that Liverpool can put out there, but it wasn't the best controlled performance. Obviously, control got out of Liverpool's hands. They let Isak go through and just score a very easy goal, Thierry Henry-esque, and a very special finish, but frustrating, right? And then the second goal, Botman just towers above everyone else, and it is a really impressive corner finish, but it is still a finish. And, Liverpool were on at 3-2 at that point. There are times where I feel like Liverpool slightly take their foot off the gas. There are times where they slightly just go, hey, we've got this one now. And Klopp knew it. Klopp knew that Liverpool were easing off. You could see his frustration when the corner went to Newcastle. It was like, hey, stay on here. And they didn't. Thankfully, they went down the other end and got another penalty, which, why wouldn't Jota just finish that? Maybe the players were going to get back. Maybe it's because he had legit contact and he needed to go down. Maybe it's because when you get legit contact, you go down. Either way. I could talk about a number of other performances this evening, by the way. Szoboszlai for winning the ball back multiple times. Curtis Jones for the control that he adds in the midfield. I want to talk about that period when Liverpool sub players off and brings other people on. I actually quite enjoyed Nunez. I really enjoyed Diaz's runs. I thought Diaz looked towards back to his best in terms of combination play, driving at people, driving through challenges, getting between players. He was really tricky. He was adding a real pizzazz and flair to this Liverpool team. It's what Liverpool want from Diaz, I'd imagine. And it's something that gets the fans on their feet. It's something that when they see it, they go, that's where our left wing outlet is coming from when it's not Jota, when it's not Nunez. It's great to have these combinations, but it's just lovely to see a player who makes that role his own. And to an extent, reminds you a little bit of the Mane days. Reminds you a little bit of when you knew that name on that position was his. Anyway, the point being, he took Nunez off as well. Nunez had a bit of a frustrating night. Nunez's finishing is coming under a lot of stress at the moment, coming under a lot of analysis from a lot of people. A lot of people saying, he's missed this, he's missed that. Is that an easy chance? Is that a hard chance? I think a lot of the time, there are, like tonight, I think he should have scored one. Probably a header. Probably the other finish where he kind of finishes at the goalkeeper's feet. Or kind of at the goalkeeper's body. I can't remember where it is, but he hits the goalkeeper quite easily. I think it's the feet in the end. And you just think to yourself, that could have been an easier finish for you. That could have been an easier moment for Liverpool. You could be relieving the pressure we're feeling here and taking away all these other moments. Of course, then we wouldn't have the highest XG. We'd have another classic against Newcastle. It's not a classic, but you get what I'm saying. The point being, Nunez's finishing needs to improve. And I get it. He has lots of other influence on the game. If he improved his finishing, imagine the dominance we'd have. That's a positive way of spinning the fact that he isn't finishing his chances right now. Of course, I love that era, the part of the game when Klopp makes his subs and Liverpool go from whatever it is they're playing before, shape-wise, to the new shape. There's like a 5-minute period where Liverpool almost try and click together, where they're like trying to find their shape. Where if you've watched Number Blocks, which is a kids' TV show, right? Or Alpha something, they kind of work in different combinations. So, it's like noises or it's like numbers that add together. Liverpool are the same. When they're in combination and they slot together quite easily, it works. The opposition can't seem to find gaps. They are harried, they're chasing, they are awful to play against. But that 5 minutes after Klopp initially makes those 3 subs, sometimes 4 subs, very quickly, sometimes 3 and then 1, sometimes 2 and then 2. Generally it's 3 and then 1 or 3 and then 2 or whatever it is. The point being, he tweaks. And with that, Liverpool then have a 3 to 5 minute period where they basically go, we aren't combining well here. You need someone to drop back a little bit deeper. He's taken certain people off who were very influential in the game. Liverpool need to work on that period. Whether it is that when they bring new players in, those players need to hit the ground, which sometimes happens, and then obviously it opens the game up against Newcastle. Or at the same time, the other way around, where the players who come on need to be bedded in by the other players around them. The Van Dijks, the Konates, the Trents, those kind of people will slot into certain positions and go, you're on, I know what you're meant to do, I know what I'm meant to do, let me take charge for this 5 minutes, let's just lock it down, make sure the opposition don't get the opportunities they're going to in this period or think they're going to in this period, and let's just lock it off. Of course, immediately after that, Liverpool reap the benefits. When the combinations come in, when the new spaces are found, when the new combinations of play between forwards and midfielders who are running onto it come, brilliant. But there is a brief period where the opposition don't seem as rushed, don't seem as closed down, don't seem as stressed about winning, right? Don't seem as stressed about Liverpool winning, right? And Newcastle tried to capitalise on that tonight. You can see it's clearly a tactical element for the opposition to try and play with. So, let's go from there. I think January is going to be interesting. We have a lot of players out coming back. We have a lot of, obviously, 2 big gaps in the team now in defensive midfield and out on the right wing. I'd love to see how Klopp's going to plug that. I think it may be a Harvey Elliott shape. I think it may be a Jota shape. I think it may be even a Nunez or a Gakpo shape. I think Cody Gakpo, I'd love to see him out on that right wing. Just love to see him cutting in, see what happens. See if he can, I don't know, let's see what happens there. And possibly a Szoboszlai shape. Szoboszlai played out on that right for RB. Let's see. I'll be interested to see what happens there. I'd love to know your comments below. Anyway, I've gone on for long enough. It was a decent performance at Anfield. Start the year. 2024 is in. It's looking good. Liverpool didn't think they'd be in a title race at the start of the season, right? And now they are. Whether they remain in it, whatever it is, this team is showing that whatever it was that people were saying about Klopp last season, to an extent, I think was wrong. The transition, the moves, Liverpool 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, whatever it is, I'm interested to see what you guys think about it. But more than anything, Liverpool needs to capitalise in these periods where Arsenal and City are dropping points or away or not quite able to catch up or, have got games to make up or whatever it is. Because I think January is going to be quite kind to Arsenal and City in this period, obviously, because Liverpool have got a couple of players away. And also, City are coming back from the World Club Cup, where they've just won it, by the way. They're now World Club Cup champions. And on top of that, January is a little bit lighter on them. Same for Arsenal. Got to keep your foot on the gas at this point. Don't let up on them. Keep that intensity. Try and widen the gap. Give someone an opportunity out that right wing. Salah is more important than just that attacking, by the way. I look forward to seeing what we do. I think it could be Szoboszlai for that very reason, because he will get back. He will tactically just, try and at least, whoever it is, needs to tactically fill what it is that Salah does in that position. Going to be interested to know what you guys think about that. Anyway, that's a lot of chat back-to-back from me. Impassioned. Do you think we win the game without those penalties? I mean, obviously one of them was saved. But Newcastle were kind of coming back into it. 3-2, 4-2. Highest XG ever, though. Liverpool needs to start putting these chances away. 34 shots against United, 34 shots against Newcastle. We're dominating the shots. Two very different games, though. It shows. Stats and Liverpool don't tell 100% of the record. So if you watch another channel where they're talking about stats, it's because they're just trying to fill time. It's because they don't care about the team in the same way as we do. Welcome back to Laurence McKenna channel. If you haven't already hit subscribe. We'll chat to you guys again. Oh, by the way, can I just run one thing by you? Van Dijk has been great this season, but he played Isak on for that goal. That run is always on for any opposition side. And if we get exploited like that many more times, Van Dijk obviously played him onside. It was like marginal, but he was onside, right? How many weeks until people start going, oh, Van Dijk, look, he doesn't know what he's doing? Just let me know. Because Liverpool, up until this game, I think, had the best defensive record in the league. I'd love to know where it is now, but let me know. Who's going to be lazy enough to have a swipe at Van Dijk? That was about the only mistake he made for the whole game. Maybe the corner. Anyway, chat to you guys again. Much love. Bye.